8 spine-chilling police encounters discover the sinister hidden footage no one was meant to see. Ashley's heart raced. She stumbled back in disbelief as she watched the grainy footage on her phone. 8 spine-chilling police encounters plastered in horror font across the screen couldn't compare to the scene unfolding before her eyes. The suburban bliss of Maplewood had been a comforting facade, but that night, everything would change. Every night, as Ashley prepared for her nursing shift, untraceable phone calls from an unknown number invaded the stillness of their home. At first, she shrugged them off. Probably just kids playing pranks, she thought, one more annoyance in her already chaotic day. But as the calls transformed from mere interruptions to eerie whispers, dread seeped through her like a fog. The ringing always came just before she left the house, tightening the knot in her gut. Max, her 6-year-old, often wandered around the house, talking about a weird man he saw outside, which sent shivers down her spine. His innocent curiosity felt tainted by an ominous undercurrent that Ashley couldn't shake. The cheerfulness of their neighbors, waving in the yard while mowing lawns and sipping lemonade, began to feel fixed and phony. Recent headlines riddled with disappearances danced in her mind unresolved, whispered about in hushed tones. The police? Were they really here to protect them? That night, after a grueling shift, Ashley settled into a quiet darkness, fatigue sending her to a restless sleep. Suddenly, she was jolted awake. The faint sound of footsteps outside clawed at her thoughts. She pressed her forehead against the cool window, catching the glint of a police car parked across the street. Her breath hitched. The figure in blue seemed oddly familiar. It was a local man, Greg, rumored to be involved in the latest disappearance. Heart pounding, she fumbled for her phone, recording the scene unfolding below. A low murmur echoed against the night as the officer leaned closer, exchanging words with the shadowy figure. Ashley's pulse raced. The interaction appeared too cozy, too familiar. Just as she thought to stop the recording, the officer leaned in even closer, slipping something into Greg's hand. Panic seized Ashley. What was happening? Was the police department tangled in a web of secrecy? Her mind raced, scrambling for answers. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. Ashley's hands shook, dread began to twist like a vice around her. Watching the interaction unfold, helplessness bore down on her. Had she stumbled into something far beyond her suburban reality? Just then, Max's sweet voice broke through the tension. "Mommy, I see the strange man again." Every drop of color drained from Ashley's face, her body frozen under the paralyzing weight of fear. She turned, catching a glimpse of movement outside their porch light, the outline of a figure creeping closer. The warm haven of home now felt like a prison. Who could she trust in this perfect suburb turned sinister? As dread consumed her, the distance between safety and danger began to blur, unraveling the fabric of her seemingly idyllic life. The figure lurked in the shadows, moving stealthily. Each slow step sent jolts of dread through Ashley's core. Her breath had turned shallow, as though the air thickened with an unseen malevolence. Every instinct screamed at her to shout, to grab Max and run away from the creeping darkness outside. "Mommy?" Max's voice trembled, confusion mixing with fear. But how could she explain? The strange man, the police, the night thick with terror. Her thoughts raced like wild horses, crashing into one another. Would shouting alert the figure? Or would it send him running straight for them? "No, baby," she whispered, forcing her voice to sound steady. "Stay close to me." Ashley grasped her phone tighter. The screen flickered, casting a dim light in the encroaching night. She couldn't tear her eyes away from the scene before her, both terrified and morbidly fascinated. The officer's body language shifted, and unmistakable tension hung in the air, pregnant with unspoken words, unfathomable deals. Max tugged at her elbow, eyes wide, pointing at the figure now hidden behind a tree. "He's hiding, Mommy." "Why is he hiding?" Ashley sucked in a breath, pulse racing with dread. I don't know." The officer exchanged tense whispers with Greg, their forms seemingly swallowed by the dark. What were they discussing that felt so secretive, so villainous even? The hair on the back of Ashley's neck rose. She felt a cold prickle of realization wash over her. This wasn't just a casual meeting. It was conspiratorial, sinister, their movements synchronized like a dance of demons. Meanwhile, the strange man shifted, stepping out from the tree's shadow, face bathed in hazy light. A smirk twisted his lips, cold and predatory. Time froze, Ashley's heart seized. The familiarity of his face pressed a heavy weight on her chest. She had seen that smile before. It was the same one that had flickered across the news when a local woman vanished. "Mommy, he looks like a monster," Max whispered, clutching her hand tight. He was right. The figure was all wrong, discolored, gaunt, as if the darkness itself had chewed away at his flesh, leaving behind a sight that haunted Ashley's mind even in the brightest of days. His eyes, hollow and glinting, scanned the nearby houses hungrily. Ashley pressed her phone against her mouth, fighting to center her shaking fingers. She had to document this. Someone had to know. She could hear her heartbeat, a thunderous echo in the silence, as she started filming again. Then she saw it. Something slipped from Greg's hand to the man. A small object, gleaming under the streetlight for a moment. A knife? A key? The phone momentarily trembled as the revelation sank like lead in her stomach. What do they want? What are they planning? The questions erupted unbidden, swirling in her mind like a storm of dread. Suddenly, a flicker of movement darted from the corner of her vision, a flash of something behind the house. The sensation hit her like an icy wave. She wasn't alone. "Max. We need to go now," she echoed, adrenaline exploding through her veins. But as she turned, the reality crashed down. The porch light flickered ominously, as if mocking her desperation. They were already too deep, too far into the shadows. She didn't know who else was watching. The feeling of being trapped slammed into her as the figure outside drew closer, his gaze narrowing, locking onto her very soul. She stumbled back, heart racing, knowing they had crossed some unspeakable threshold. "Mommy. He's coming." Max gasped, terror etched across his little face. Ashley grabbed his little hand, eyes darting toward the front door. But before she could act, a chilling laugh echoed in the night, slicing through her thoughts like a butcher's knife. Come out, wherever you are." The veil of her suburban life had been torn away, revealing a nightmare beyond comprehension. And then she heard footsteps approaching the front door, slow and deliberate. The hunter had turned into the hunted. What was about to break through that door? The knob rattled as something pressed against the door, a sinister weight that felt knotted deep in Ashley's stomach. She held Max tightly, covering his trembling mouth with her hand. Her heart thudded against her ribs like a caged animal, desperate to flee the tightening grip of fear. The laughter continued, an eerie serenade woven with a sinister promise. "You can't hide forever," the voice wrapped around her like thick fog, chilling her to the bone. It felt familiar and foreign, a grotesque parody. "Mommy, what's happening?" Max whispered, those innocent eyes reflecting pure terror. The way he clutched her arm made her feel like a fragile reed against a gale. "We'll be okay," she croaked out, but inside, she was far from convinced. A part of her felt the darkness creeping, whispering that they would not escape unscathed. The footsteps grew louder, rhythm echoing ominously against the wood. She could almost feel the pulse of whatever lay on the other side, waiting, plotting. Ashley's mind spiraled down a dark tunnel of despair. What if this was where it ended? What if the things she loved fell to a nightmare? A crash. The sound shuddered through the house as the figure slammed against the door. Splinters flew, and her heart leaped into her throat. She felt the pulse of terror so vividly, it was a living thing, choking her. "We need to move," she hissed, already anticipating the next attack. Together, they dashed towards the hallway, slipping around furniture that once felt like a safe haven. Her phone still clutched in her hand, she opted not to look back. They had to get to the kitchen. It was the only way out. Just as they reached the kitchen, the door burst open. Wooden fragments scattered like autumn leaves, and there he stood, the figure, more monstrous than before, a grotesque cartoon of human malice. "Found you!" he shrieked, his warped grin splitting his face wide open. Ashley pulled Max behind her, the instinct to protect implementing itself in her bones. Her back felt lined with flames as the air thickened, charged with a violent energy. "Stay back!" Ashley cried, brandishing the phone like a shield, her heart pounding against her chest. "I'll call the police. I swear I will." His eyes narrowed, calculating. "You think they can save you? All they do is play along." Ashley's thoughts whirled. How had he known about the police? Was it part of the conspiracy she had sensed? There was something dreadfully wrong here. But before she could unravel the knot in her chest, the figure lunged forward. In that split second, instinct kicked in. She spun and shoved Max towards the back door, urging him to run. "Get out! Go!" She could barely breathe. But as she watched him flee, something crashed down on her chest, an oppressive weight dragging her into despair. All she could do was redirect her phone's camera towards the horror unfolding before her. This had to be documented. Someone would have to know. The figure chuckled darkly, stepping closer, leaving footprints in the fragments of broken wood, a mocking trail of impending doom. "They'll find you, Ashley. They always do." Just then, a siren wailed in the distance. Hope ignited inside her chest. Relief surged like a wave, she needed to hold on until help arrived. But the figure's face twisted into a horrible mask of fury. "They can't help you. This is only the beginning." Then, in a final burst, he lunged forward. Suddenly, the lights cut out, plunging them into darkness. "What have you done?" Ashley screamed. She couldn't see, couldn't even breathe. Not only was there danger, but the entire world around her felt like it was collapsing, swallowed by the abyss. Would they make it? Would anyone find them before it was too late? In the depths of despair, a chilling question hit her: what would happen if the nightmares were only just beginning? The darkness pressed in on Ashley, cold and suffocating. The air felt thick, making each breath a chore. She blinked and tried to adjust to the nothingness, clutching her phone tightly, her only lifeline. Panic wrapped around her heart like barbed wire. "Max!" she called, her voice trembling as it sliced through the silence. "Where are you?" A soft whimper came from behind her. Relief flooded her veins, but it was quickly eclipsed by fear. Where was that figure? The weight of his presence lingered, a shadow living in the depths of her mind. "We need to get out, sweetheart." She reached out, desperation driving her forward as her eyes strained for any glimpse of movement. "Can you hear me?" Why, yes, his voice was so small, too fragile for the terror of their surroundings. She felt her heart hammering in reply, a frantic tribute to their shared fear. Suddenly, a sliver of light crept into the room, puncturing the dark like a knife. It was coming from the kitchen window, moonlight filtered in, casting long, spindly shadows that danced on the walls. But it was more than just light, it was an escape. "Come on," she urged, scrambling toward the window, her instincts driving her through the narrow beam of visibility. "We can make it." Max stumbled behind her, tripping over the debris littering the floor. Ashley held her breath, every second feeling like an eternity. They could see the backyard, the dark silhouettes of trees whispering secrets in the night as the siren's wail grew nearer. "Mommy! What if he comes back?" Max's voice quivered, raw and edged with terror. Ashley scooped him up in a protective embrace, the warmth of his small body against hers grounding her. He won tea. We're almost a loud crash shattered her hope as something barreled into the kitchen. The figure had returned, shrouded in darkness, looming like a nightmare brought to life. His baleful eyes glinted with malevolence, giving a glimmer of the twisted delight he felt. No! She screamed, pushing Max towards the window. Get out! Climb! She could feel the figure's breath, hot and rotten, as he stalked toward them. Each step resonated with the beat of her own heartbeat, a bitter symphony of dread. Leave him alone! Ashley cried, fury igniting within her, a flame fueled by the instinctual drive to protect her son. In that moment of defiance, she brandished her phone, the light casting an eerie glow. I swear, I'll show everyone what you've done. The figure's laughter filled the kitchen, a disturbing melody that twisted her stomach. They won tea, believe you? They never do. Suddenly, something cold and wet touched her arm. She recoiled, her pulse quickening. Shadows seemed to writhe around, growing more animated and violent. She could hear whispers now, soft and sinister. The small cracks in her resolve began to widen, terror clawing at her sanity. Mommy! Help me! Max cried out, his small fingers grasping hers tighter. Hold on, baby. I'm so close. Ashley shoved the phone into her pocket, the screen lighting up briefly. With both hands free, she gripped the windowsill and lifted Max to her chest. But as she prepared to leap through the opening, the figure lunged forward, catching her ankle with a skeletal grip. She gasped, flame-like pain surging through her. Let him go! Ashley roared, yanking her leg free. The figure snarled, but his fingers slipped, and she felt a surge of adrenaline propel her forward. Together, they tumbled out of the window, landing on the dewy grass below. We're free! Max sobbed, relief flooding his voice. But Ashley's euphoria turned to ice as she looked back. The figure loomed in the window, sneering, the glowing shards of moonlight not capturing the horror of his eyes. This isn't over, Ashley. He cried, the echo of his words lingering in the air like smoke. As they sprinted toward the trees, Ashley felt the weight of his promise settle over her. It wasn't over. Max, we have to keep moving. But as they ran, the ground trembled beneath them. The sounds of breaking glass and shattering wood echoed behind, like the start of a twisted song. Would they survive this night? Or was it just the prelude to something worse? A distant howl cut through the stillness. It wasn't just the figure pursuing them. They were not alone. They stumbled through the grass, racing towards the cover of the trees. The moonlight cast eerie shadows around them, seeming to reach out with ghostly fingers. Ashley's heart pounded in time with their hurried footsteps, and the whispers from the kitchen still echoed in her mind. Faster, Max! She urged, glancing over her shoulder. The figure was gone, swallowed by the darkness, but she could feel his eyes on them like burning coals. Max gripped her hand, his small frame trembling. What if he finds us again? What if don't think about that. Just keep running. Ashley interrupted, trying to stave off the dread growing in her chest. The trees loomed before them, their gnarled branches twisted like skeletal hands reaching for the sky. As they entered the thicket, the darkness thickened, wrapping around them like a suffocating blanket. Mommy, is it safe? Max whispered, panting. I don't know, baby. We just need to find a place to hide. She scanned their surroundings, frantically searching for refuge. There. An old shed half buried in ivy, its door slightly ajar. She pulled him inside, heart racing. The air was stale, and she could barely make out the cobwebs draping the corners like veils of dread. They crouched in the small space, shadows swallowing them whole. Stay quiet, she instructed, her voice a mere breath. Max nodded, eyes wide with fear. The silence enveloped them, broken only by the distant sound of everything falling apart behind them, the crash, the howl, the man's promise. Ashley held her breath, listening. And then, it came soft and slow. Footsteps. "Where are you, Ashley?" A taunting whisper floated through the air, chilling her to the bone. As they grew closer, she felt the hairs on the back of her neck prickle with terror. "Mommy!" Max whimpered. "Shoo!" She hushed him, pressing her palm over his mouth. The world outside dimmed further, an unreal gloom stealing over her senses. She could taste fear, it was metallic and bitter. The figure south voice was close now, dripping with disdain. "Did you really think you could run away from me?" Ashley felt her heartbeat thunder in her ears. "He won't find us," she muttered, but even she didn't believe it. Suddenly, the door creaked open, revealing a narrow sliver of moonlight illuminating the space. The figure stood silhouetted against the light, his shape monstrous and exaggerated. "You can't hide forever, Ashley." Max trembled in her grip, and she squeezed him tighter, desperation coursing through her veins. There could be no fighting under these circumstances, all they had was endurance. The figure scanned the shed, searching for them, and a sick smile twisted his face. "Time to show you what real fear is." With a swift movement, he stepped into the shed, the door swinging shut behind him. The creaking echoed ominously, cutting off their escape route. Ashley's mind raced. "We have to move," she whispered fiercely to Max. "Now." They crawled on hands and knees to the side, trying to find any way out. The darkness pressed in, thick and oppressive, but there was no escape without a plan. Where could we go? She thought, her thoughts spiraling down a tunnel of dread. What lay beyond this shed? Did the trees hold safety, or further horrors? Another sound made her freeze. The figure was close, too close. "You think you can beat me?" He sneered, his eyes glowing with sick pleasure. "You're in my world now." As he advanced, the shadows lengthened, his disfigured silhouette making her stomach churn. The air felt electric, thrumming with an otherworldly energy. Just then, a sudden crash erupted from the wall behind them. A broken board caved, revealing a hidden space beyond. Light streamed in from an unknown source beyond the wood, flickering like a beacon of hope. "Max! This way!" Ashley shouted, instinct driving her to the opening. They scrambled toward it, the figure's laughter ringing in their ears. "Not so fast!" he shouted, racing forward as they slipped through the narrow opening, a wild force of instinct urging them on. Bursting out into the night, Ashley looked around in desperate confusion. What lay before them? More trees. Another nightmare or a chance at freedom? But ahead, shadows writhed and moved among the branches and the howl echoed again, closer this time. It was becoming clear. They were not alone. "Max, don't stop." As they ran towards the unknown, dread crawled under Ashley's skin. What dangers lurked in the shadows? And who else was watching? The night held its breath, waiting for the next terrifying revelation. They sprinted deeper into the encompassing darkness, the forest swallowing all light as they dashed past ancient trees with roots like clawed hands jutting out of the ground. Ashley's breath came in ragged gasps, the pounding of her heart drowning out the sounds of the night, a cacophony of rustling leaves and creaking limbs. "Why is it so dark?" Max cried, his voice tinged with fear as he stumbled beside her. "Just keep moving. We can't stop," she urged, her voice a hoarse whisper that barely broke the suffocating silence. She glanced back, feeling the weight of eyes lingering just beyond the veil of shadows. What if he had come? What if he wasn't alone? As they emerged from the thicket, an unexpected clearing opened before them. The moon hung low, illuminating a dilapidated playground that had long since succumbed to nature's reign. Rusting swings creaked in the wind, their chains rattling like ghostly chains in the night. "Mommy, what is this place?" Max asked, his voice trembling. I don't know, honey," she murmured, glancing over her shoulder as if expecting the figure to materialize from the trees. "We just need to keep going. There might be a way out here." They moved cautiously toward the gnarled slide, half buried in weeds. Its paint was flaking, and shadows danced along its surface like fingers beckoning them closer. Ashley knew there was nothing safe here, but desperation clawed at her insides. The faint sound of laughter floated through the air, oddly cheerful and chilling amid their bleak circumstances. It was a discordant symphony that twisted deep inside her, reminding her of the darkness that enveloped them. "Did you hear that?" Max whispered, eyes wide and darting. Ashley's stomach tightened. "It's just your imagination," she lied, forcing a brave face. Yet, something stirred in her mind, an unsettling sensation that something was terribly wrong. She pressed forward, drawing Max along, his small hand clutched tightly in hers. Suddenly, the laughter grew louder, a melodic sound, teasing and mocking. "Ashley Max," the voice floated from the shadows, slithering into her ears. It was seductive and sinister. It felt as if the very darkness around them was alive, wrapping itself tighter around their throats. "Run!" she shouted, the urgency cracking her voice. They fled toward the back end of the playground, desperately searching for an escape. Dim, flickering lights appeared in the far corner, pulsing like a heartbeat. "Mommy! I'm scared!" Max panted, his small legs struggling to keep pace. I know. Just hold on," Ashley urged, tears stinging her eyes. She felt the presence behind them pushing closer, suffocating. Gasping, she reached the source of the flickering light. It was an old, battered merry-go-round, spinning lazily in the still air, childlike laughter spilling out as if it had a life of its own. The lights pulsed from its center, urging them to step closer. "What if it's a trap?" Ashley whispered, hesitating. "We can't go back," Max cried, his voice rising in panic. With no time to ponder, she grabbed hold of the rusty bar and pulled. The merry-go-round squeaked and protested, but it began to slow. "Get on," she insisted as they leapt onto the spinning platform. The laughter crescendoed, enveloping them. Seconds felt like hours as the merry-go-round creaked louder, shadows twisting around its edges. It spun faster and faster, whipping the night air into a frenzy. Everything around them blurred into chaos. Then, suddenly, the laughter stopped. The world tilted and came crashing down around them, the ground shifting beneath like a violent tide. Max screamed, his small body flinging off the side as Ashley clung desperately to the bar, her world spinning out of control. A blinding flash of white light burst from the darkness, and she felt herself being throwing her back against the cold, hard ground. Silence fell like a shroud, wrapping them both in a terrifying stillness. Ashley blinked against the stark light now piercing the void, a harsh contrast to the dark world they had escaped. She groaned, trying to stand. Panic washing over her as she searched for Max. The brightness faded, revealing a new horror. Max. He was not with her. "Max. Where are you?" A rustle came from behind her, and she turned slowly, dread pooling in her gut. "Mommy, help!" The whisper was tiny, barely there, yet it filled the space with a terrifying sense of urgency. Ashley's heart raced with each heartbeat, fear clawing at her throat. "Max!" she called again, desperate. But the shadows shifted, and from the depths, something stirred, a figure emerging, gliding through the murky edges of light and darkness. It moved with a serene confidence, and Ashley felt the icy grip of fear seize her whole being. The night was far from over, and it had only just begun to unveil its horrors. Max. But all she could see now were the eyes shining, hungry, and unblinking. What had she awakened? The rustling sound approached, stepped closer, and as the figure materialized from the shadows, Ashley felt her heart grind to a halt. Cold fear gripped her, tightening like a vice. The figure stood tall, a dark silhouette against the fading light, its face obscured by a tattered hood. "Mommy!" The voice was not Max's. It was smooth and low, laced with something sinister. "Who are you?" Ashley demanded, forcing her voice to remain steady, though her insides churned with dread. The figure chuckled, a sound that sent chills racing down her spine. "You shouldn't have played with what you don't understand." Ashley's pulse hammered in her ears. The laughter had returned, a spectral chorus echoing around her, mocking her. Panic rose up from her chest like a tidal wave. "I'm looking for my son." "Where is he?" "Your son is safe for now. But you have much to learn." Its form shifted, the darkness wrapping around it like a cloak, and she felt a cold draft slither past her, making the hairs on her arms stand on end. "Where is Max?" she cried out, the plea bursting from her lips. She scanned the area frantically, half expecting to see her boy leap from the shadows, but there was nothing, only that eerie, oppressive quiet. The figure stepped closer, its presence heavy and oppressive. "He has joined the game, just like all the others." "All the others?" Ashley felt her stomach drop. "What game? What do you mean?" "The game that tests the limits of your heart, where the echoes of laughter become your worst nightmares." It tilted its head, the hood falling slightly to reveal a face that seemed like a mirage, flickering in and out of clarity, eyes that glinted like shards of glass, shifting between colors, dreadfully alluring and unnervingly beautiful. "Please," she begged, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I need my son. Bring him back." The figure raised a hand, long fingers twisting and weaving in the air as if it was conducting the shadows themselves. The laughter grew louder, swelling around her like a tempest. "You must play to win him back." But beware, a sudden gust of wind knocked Ashley back a step, causing her to stumble. "Beware of the cost." "What do you mean?" She steadied herself, desperation thickening her voice, but the figure only smiled, a grin that stretched too wide, unsettling and ghastly. Then, with a swift motion, it pointed toward the ground. Before her eyes, the earth cracked open, revealing a dark, swirling pit. Cold air seeped from the crevice, tinged with the scent of rot. "The game begins below. Choose wisely, or he may not be the only one you lose." "Max." She lunged forward, instinct kicking in. But as soon as she reached the edge, a force pulled her back. It felt like the very air had conspired against her, a whisper of shadows tightening around her like a noose. With sheer will, Ashley tore her eyes from the abyss. "This is all a trick. You're trying to scare me." But the figure's laughter echoed in her mind, a chilling serenade harmonizing with her heart's heavy thud. "We'll see how brave a mother truly is when faced with terror." Mommy Max's voice floated up from the depths, a delicate wisp carried on the chill wind, sending shards of hope and fear slicing through her heart. "Max." A wave of determination surged through her as she searched desperately for anything to hold on to, anything that could bring her back to him. From behind, the figure stepped back into the shadows, fading into the darkness as if the night swallowed it whole. "Your choice, Ashley. But choose fast." With one final glance at the hole yawning beneath her, she knew she stood at the edge of a precipice, not just of the ground, but of her own sanity. What horrors lay beneath waiting for her? How could she possibly win this treacherous game? As the laughter of children mingled with the darker echoes, Ashley felt her resolve harden. She had to find Max. No matter the cost, she would face the darkness. Would the shadows protect him or consume him altogether? The laughter paused, then crescendoed again, bewitching and taunting. Ashley took a breath, her heart racing. Time to play. The moment Ashley plunged her stare into the pitch-black pit, the air around her changed. It felt alive, a breathing entity that pulsed with dread. She hesitated, her mind racing through every horror movie she'd ever binge-watched. This was real. Max was down there. She had to remind herself of that truth, no matter how impossible it felt. "Max!" She shouted again, desperation infusing her voice. The pit echoed back her call, a distorted version that conjured images of lost children trapped in darkness. Heart in her throat, Ashley took a step forward, the edge of the abyss clawing at her. A flicker of movement caught her eye somewhere below, a shadow darting past the swirling mists. Was it Max? Was he near? She could barely breathe as she leaned further, a dangerous tilt that threatened to lose her into the void. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind erupted from the pit, slapping her face and tousling her hair. "Choose wisely," the figure's voice whispered from behind, gliding through the air like poison on the wind. "The game waits." The shadows shifted again, as if bearing witness to her anguish. "I'll play." She screamed, the words dripping from her lips like heavy stones, a challenge thrown into the darkness. What awaited her on the other side? What sacrifices would she need to make? The laughter faded, turning to silence, an eerie kind where even the rustling leaves seemed to hold their breath. Ashley's pulse raced. Memories flooded her mind, faint, echoing laughter and the innocent face of her son. Every instant spent nurturing him. She couldn't let him down now. Then, without warning, the darkness thickened, swirling into a funnel of shadows. Ashley stumbled back, shocked, her heart pounding as the ground beneath her feet trembled. The air turned cold, and she clutched her arms, trying to fend off the wave of despair. "Max!" She called once more, fighting against the rising panic in her throat. "I'm coming." With a swift motion, she leaned over the pit again, ready to jump. But then, she saw a flash of color, a red shirt. "Mommy!" It was definitely his voice. Her heart soared and plummeted all at once, the hope flooding her veins yet again. "Max! I'm here." The voice echoed up, clearer this time yet tinged with a strange distortion. It didn't sound quite right. She shook it off, adrenaline coursing through her. "Hold on. I'm coming." A new wave of wind rushed up, carrying with it a crushing sensation, like hands grasping her, pulling her back. Panic gripped her tightly. She could feel the ground shifting, the energy in the air electric. "Ready or not," the figure's voice crooned, slithering around her like smoke. "The game begins now." The shadows shuddered, as if whispering secrets. All at once, images flickered at the edge of her vision, faces of children, lost and haunting, eyes wide with despair, and laughter dulling to unsettling cries. The laughter returned, but this time it was harsher, desperate, echoing her fears. Ashley gritted her teeth. No. She wouldn't let her mind twist her heart into knots. She squeezed her eyes shut, willing strength to envelop her. "Max!" She dropped to her knees, palms pressed to the cool earth. "I swear I'll find you." Suddenly, a loud crash erupted from the pit, a deep rumble that felt like thunder, an answer, or perhaps a warning. Dust rose, swirling around her as the darkness churned violently. The shadows seemed to pulse, growing thicker, more aggressive. With a cry deeper than her fear, she leaned over the edge, for the last time. "Max!" The ground trembled, shaking violently beneath her. And then, something emerged. A hand, pale and spectre-like, reached for her from the swirling abyss, grasping at her. Was it Max? Just as her fingertips brushed against the cold skin, everything went dark. What had she just laid bare? What more terror awaited within the shadows? As silence swallowed her cries, one thought reigned: it was only the beginning. Ashley felt the weight of nothingness compress around her. Darkness enveloped her completely, thick and suffocating. Her limbs felt heavy, sliding into the void as she gasped for breath that didn't come. Was she falling? Or floating? The world she knew was fading fast. Then, a warmth spread from her left arm, prickling against the chill. It felt familiar. She reached for it, instinctively, willing her fingers to grasp something solid, something she could hold on to. The warmth pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat, a beacon in the black. "Max?" she whispered, her voice only a faint echo against the oppressive silence. Sudden sounds shattered the stillness, a cacophony of whispers, giggling children, and a faint, distant thud of footsteps. They circled around her like frantic fireflies. She strained her ears, trying to decipher the chaos. Were they calling her names? Were they warning her? "Mommy, help!" The voice came softly, almost imperceptibly. It was Max, or something like him, beckoning from the corners of her mind. The sound pulsed like a heartbeat, growing ever stronger, urging her to follow. As if guided by an unseen hand, Ashley floated, or was she being pulled? Forces tugging at her consciousness dragged her deeper into the void. With each harsh pull, the darkness writhed, transforming into great waves, crashing into her senses. The pit beneath her festered with dread, and she could feel the rancid breath of a million lost souls whispering tales of woe. "Max!" She shouted again, voice trembling. A flicker of light pierced the gloom, a fleeting image in the chaos, perhaps just a figment. It didn't matter. She surged towards it, willing herself forward. Then, the ground jolted beneath her. She was no longer free-floating, she fell, tumbling through endless night until she landed hard, gasping as she connected with the earth, cold, damp, rough. The suffocating darkness broke like glass. She blinked, adjusting to the sudden brightness. The world around her was jagged and surreal, a twisted reflection of reality. She found herself in a long, narrow corridor lined with doors, each one marked with grim symbols, letters twisted and writhing like snakes. The air buzzed with tension, electric and raw, making her skin crawl. "Mommy!" The voice was clearer now, echoing through the corridor, resonant and hollow. Ashley scrambled to her feet, heart hammering, adrenaline flooding her system. She raced toward the sound, feet slapping against the cold tile floor. The walls pulsed, shimmering, as if alive and ensuring every creak and groan echoed through her body. Each door she passed loomed like a sentry, whispering sweet nothings coated in malice. The shadows flickered at the edges, darting beyond her periphery, hiding secrets that chilled her soul. "Please, Max!" The hallway twisted and turned, morphing into a labyrinth, each step leading her deeper into uncertainty. Sweat trickled down her back, chilling her spine. She reached the end of the corridor, and there stood the last door, yawning wide like a mouth of a beast ready to swallow her whole. The dim light seeping through cast shifting shadows around it, tantalizing yet terrifying. She raised a trembling hand, feeling the pulse of dread emanating from the door. Before she could make a sound, a figure surged from the darkness, an apparition, sweeping toward her, face obscured. Its breath was rancid, a blend of despair and malice. "Your time is precious," it hissed, a voice both familiar and foreign. "Choose wisely." Ashley's heart dropped. Had she truly thought she could reclaim Max from this nightmare? With a fierce roar, she stepped through the threshold, her determination eclipsing her terror. What horrors lay waiting inside? What twisted truths would she unveil? In that moment, time stood still, shadows stretching like fingers ready to ensnare her. "Mommy!" The voice echoed again, sharper this time, sharper than the teeth she felt lurking just behind her. But with that desperate call, a sinister presence stirred, ready to claim its next victim. Ashley stumbled through the door, its threshold feeling less like an entrance and more like a passage to devastation. The room beyond was dismal, a vast warehouse-like space filled with distorted reflections of memories, all swirling around her like a grotesque carnival of nightmares. "Max!" she cried, forcing her voice through the chilled air. With every step forward, the shadows slithered, murmuring the horrors of the past. Each echo was tainted, warped by grief and loss. But she held on. The flickering lights overhead created a strobing effect, illuminating faces of children, smiles frozen in time, each staring back with hollow eyes that begged for liberation. "Help us!" their whispers coalesced into a haunting chorus that thrummed through Ashley's bones. But her heart drove her onward, she couldn't let fear consume her. As she pressed deeper, doors lined the walls, some ajar, others sealed tight. But which one led to Max? The thought sliced through her like a knife. Which path would reveal the truth? Suddenly, the laughter she had heard before erupted again, bright yet laced with frigid dread. "Find us!" The voices chanted, echoing through the vastness. Play the game to win. The realization struck her like lightning. This was the twisted game the figure had warned her about, a game of choices, each decision leading her further into the depths of horror or salvation. Without hesitation, she dashed towards a door on her left, slamming it open. Inside, it was dark, almost suffocating. "Max?" she shouted, hoping against reason that he was there. But all she faced were shadows. She turned around, panic creeping in. The voices grew louder, almost angry. "You can't hide. Max." There had to be a way, a clue to guide her. The rush of adrenaline surged through her as she opened another door, the hinges groaning in protest. This time, the room was filled with flickering images of her past, the first steps Max took, birthday parties, moments woven with laughter. But then, it twisted into something grotesque, faces of friends long lost, memories laced with regret, all pleading with her from the dark. "Mommy, please," his voice. It broke through the tumult, clear and terrified. She turned on her heels, the dread blossoming within her even as hope flared. "I'm coming, Max." Through another door she plunged, desperation igniting the speed of her heartbeat. The room opened to reveal a hall filled with mirrors, each one reflecting anguish and despair. They flashed glimpses of Max, lost within the glass, contorted faces gazing out. "Mommy! Max!" With each step closer, the mirrors cracked, showing her bite-sized moments of fear. The realization sunk in, he was trapped within these reflections, prisoners of his own terror. "Stop!" A familiar voice echoed, sharp with malice. It was the figure, rising from the shadows. "You can't save him. You're too late." Ashley's resolve solidified. Each passing moment stoked the fire of her determination. "I won't give up. I'll fight until my last breath." She rushed towards the closest mirror, ready to shatter the barriers standing between them. With a scream, she flung herself against the glass. It splintered, an explosion of light and shards raining down, illuminating the room in a kaleidoscope of colors. She felt the fierce pull of the chaos that ensued, and suddenly she was not alone. From the depths of the shattered glass, Max tumbled out, wide-eyed, his small form shaking. "Mommy! Thank God!" She scooped him into her arms, overwhelming relief pushing back the darkness. "We have to get out of here." Together they dashed forward, sprinting from one door to the next as the laughter morphed into fury, the shadows clawing at their heels. But the figure loomed larger now, blocking their way. "You think you can escape?" he snarled, fury etching features into his grotesque visage. "This is my game." Ashley held Max tightly. "No. This ends now." The fire ignited within her a force greater than fear. "You don't control us." Summoning every ounce of strength, she pushed forward, wrapping her arms around Max tighter, using her will to forge a path. Through the darkness. The door behind the figure shimmered, a portal leading to the outside world. With a powerful shove, they barreled through. The world burst into blinding light, flooding over them like a wave, washing away the nightmares. As they landed on grass, breathless and scrambling, the figure's scream echoed behind them, fading into the shadows, swallowed by the light. Max looked up at Ashley, his innocent face trembling. "Are we safe?" She knelt down, cupping his cheek. "For now, yes. But we'll always be together, and I'll protect you." In the distance, the first rays of dawn broke, bathing the suburban village in warmth just as they had been on the day they moved in. The burdens began to lift, the dark night finally slipping away. Together, they took a deep breath, finally free, the bond between them forged stronger than the shadows that once haunted their lives. As the sun rose higher in the sky, Ashley knew they had faced their worst fears and emerged stronger. In a world filled with darkness, they had found the light. And as they turned to walk forward, hands entwined, Max whispered, "Mommy, will the monsters come back?" "No," Ashley replied, leaning close. we banished them for good. As they stepped into the future, a flicker of hope shone with every step. The darkness might always lurk in the corners, but together they could face anything. And with that, the dawn broke anew, promising brighter days ahead. If you loved this story, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss a moment of the thrilling tales coming your way. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm and keep it alive. Flood the comments with your reactions and predictions on what happens next. And don't wait even one more second to share this with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Together, let us amp up the excitement and keep this channel thriving.